Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the Friday fun bag with myself. Chris Meaney from The Athletic is here, but I want to let everyone know all the rankings, my rankings, are updated. You can find the link in the description, or you can go to dkplaybook.com where they always are, and they get updated at the end of every single day, and then more so on Sunday mornings. And don't forget to tune in live to the Pat Mayo Experience, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday morning. Myself, Gary and Thorne, and the Cust himself, Timanda Cust, we'll be on the line. We'll be answering your questions around the 10:30 mark, so you're going to want to get into the chat, get them questions answered. If you don't care about the chat, you just want the updates, the injuries, and our horrible takes, you can find that on the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast up around 10:35 a.m. Eastern Time. If you just want to go out, walk the dog, go to the gym, whatever it might be, we'll have the entire morning covered for you to get you up to date on everything you need to know for week 4 of the NFL season. If you want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks on that audio version, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, leave a 5-star review with your DraftKings handle and something nice about the show. Boom. You'll be in the draw for 20 DK bucks. Winners announced on Monday. Also, if you smash the like button for this episode and leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, tell me the best player you would trade 1v1 for Melvin Gordon in your season-long fantasy leagues. We'll be jumping into that here in a second. Plus, the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Listeners and Viewers League, it's getting about full. $15 to enter, 3 max entry, no rake, over $60,000 guaranteed. You can play against me and the other friends of the show. The link is in the description of this video and podcast. I recommend everyone go do it because by mid-Saturday, it's probably going to be full. So go reserve your spot right now. We're going to be recapping Thursday night a little bit later on. We'll be updating the rankings and the injuries, and at the very end, talking about DraftKings ownership. And Chris Meaney from The Athletic, I think we got it all covered.
I think you do. I'm already reserved again for your contests.
Smart.
To get in, do it right away. And I had a nice chuckle from Tim. I have a good chuckle from him every week. But
what do you do this time?
When you guys were talking props, I think it was Sunday morning, and you liked the Waller prop.
And he's like, there's no chance he goes over receptions.
He's like, how many catches did he have?
I think he had 13 by the end of it.
Yeah.
And the prop was over under 3.5. I was like, I really like the over on that one. That will never hit.
So I had a good chuckle of that one. Tim knows what he's talking about, though. I feel like he does. It's just there's always one or two things that he says that it makes me wonder. There's
a way that you can always frame what Tim says to make him sound like a complete moron. And that's what I choose to do. Yeah. But actually, if you listen to what he says, he's a bit on the ball.
Yes, he is. He's all over it. Yeah, it was good. He reached out to me on Twitter the other day. I think it was was it the Tampa game against the Giants when Bruce Arians said he had wanted to move back, I think a few yards, and he had said he's better at sinking 8-foot putts than 4-foot putts. I thought that's pretty good.
I guess so.
Sure.
Maybe he is. Maybe he's just more comfortable from that range. Fuck, I hated that game.
Oh,
that was my super lock of the week. They were up by 18 points, and Jones wasn't looking good in that game until all of a sudden he was.
It was unbelievable, the second half adjustments that they were able to make. Yeah, he looked completely like a different quarterback. Maybe it was some nerves. I don't know. Obviously it was his first start playing on the road, but man, he looked really good. He made some nice throws. I just liked the Giants' offense. It was just so vanilla before, and now they had bootlegs and zone reads. They were just able to do some things differently, obviously, with Eli Manning in there. He can't move around.
No, but I think the hype might be maybe just Tampa's pass defense is horrible.
Sure, yeah.
We knew their run defense was good against running backs, but they seem to have no idea that this was possible for Daniel Jones. I worry about that against Washington this week. Washington might not be the right team, but now that people know what he's capable of in a regular season setting, that maybe they're a bit more prepared for it.
And I'm sure he's going to be like super popular on DraftKings this week.
He probably should be. He's a good price.
Yeah, he is a really good price. And he's got 2 really solid weapons in Ingram and Shepard, and the target share is thin, obviously, and there's no Barkley.
And he runs, which is just like we talked about with Kyle Allen last week. Like, you play Kyle Allen at $4,000. I thought he would run more, but as it turns out, he didn't need to run.
He didn't need to run. Yeah, no, that was a great play. I mean, we talked about Kyle Allen here last week, 4K. I mean, if you had him in your lineup, you were able to do a lot of things. You probably had some success.
Yeah, well, the problem was, we were talking about it right before the show, we do a private contest amongst like everyone we know.
Yeah.
Paul and I were the only two that used Kyle Allen. He ended up winning. It's just all the guys that I paid up for sucked.
That ended up sucking.
Galladay was horrible. Carson was horrible.
Yeah, I was in that contest too, and I said, all these guys are going to be using Allen. I got to come off of him, and it was a huge mistake. I spent up on guys like Galladay who did nothing. I had Dalvin Cook, who was okay, who's fine, but I think maybe Zeke, who
I think we
got
all
outscored by Pollard.
I think we all had Dalvin Cook. But I just paired him with McCaffrey. I was like, they can both go off. That's fine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the one guy that worked out was Ekeler.
Yeah, who I faded to my downfall last week.
He wasn't good last night.
Let's talk about this Melvin Gordon thing first. Like, actually, we should probably just start with the Chargers in general.
Yeah.
So the very Andrew-cursed Chargers, probably not going to go 14-2 as Tim predicted. And Phillip Rivers may not win the MVP. But here's what we're dealing with. Justin Jackson, who was initially going to be like, after Tony Pollard like did a bunch of work last week, oh, you can use Justin Jackson this week. Well, he's in a walking boot with a calf injury, and he's out.
Yeah, he's
not playing. Virgil Green, he's not playing. The kicker, Badgley, he's not paying, which we get more of Tai Long, which is not great news.
No, it's not good news.
Travis Benjamin, doubtful for this game with a hip injury. Mike Williams, out with a back injury. That leaves Dontrell Inman and the hilariously spelled Jeremy Davis. With a G.
Yeah.
As the wide receiver 2 and 3. Inman at $3K on DraftKings is completely live.
Absolutely.
And I don't know who the tight end is. They might not have one.
No, they may not have one. I'd like to get your thoughts on the spread. Like, has it changed at all? Originally, when I saw 17, I jumped on Miami just because of the things that I've seen with the Chargers over the past few years.
You mean
Jeff
that they
talked about it numerous times?
They might go full Chargers?
That they could go full Chargers. Who knows who else comes out of this game and gets hurt? Phillip Rivers, something happens. Always just seems to be some kind of heartache with this Chargers team. Obviously, you know, you got the West Coast team going to the East Coast to play a 1 o'clock game, which is like a 10 o'clock in the morning game for them. So there's a lot of just variables. There's lots of different variables here in this game. And on Tuesday, Pat, Justin Jackson was on FanShare using your code. Use that code, by the way.
Oh, you
FanShare
did?
is
So, yeah,
prime time.
If you go to fansharesports.com, if you're really digging in, try to get like DraftKings ownership for the week and really want to utilize that, use the promo code PME.
The top two backs,
Ekeler and Jackson.
It was Cook and Jackson. Everybody was completely off Ekeler because they just, I don't know if I'm saying everybody, but the ownership had projected Justin Jackson is the highest owned RB heading into the weekend because of everything that has happened over the past couple of weeks. And I was like, I'm not going there. I'm just going to use Ekeler. And now, obviously, with Jackson out and Gordon playing, it's a little bit sticky. But I think Ekeler is the guy to play this week.
Yeah, and by FanShare Sports, we get into it a little bit later on. He's projected to have like 30% ownership.
Sure. I mean, I get it.
Initially, Melvin Gordon ended his contract holdout, and he wasn't going to play this week. They were just going to bring him back next week and ease him back in. But now, with Justin Jackson out, it does look like he is going to play, at least on a limited basis.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use him this week, but
I guess it depends on your situation.
I guess
I wouldn't want to use him either. I don't own him at all. I have no shares. I didn't want to deal with the headache. I wish that, I did because he's back a lot sooner than I thought. But if he falls in the end zone, it's the same thing as Zeke. I guess how we treated Zeke early in the year. If he comes in and he gets 7 carries, 7 to 10 touches against the Dolphins, and one of those touches is in the red zone, I mean, realistically, he should be the goal line back. If they ever get a play on the 5 or something, he should come in and get that touch.
That would be the saving grace of all of it,
right?
Is that he comes in, he gets all these goal line carries, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. I think it affects Ekeler less this week than it will moving forward. Like, I'd still be fine. I still have Ekeler ranked inside my top 5 at running backs this week. I don't think that the conditioning with Gordon is going to be there. Right. Hey, he wasn't in Cabo doing P90X Zeke was.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. He was at home tweeting about how good Ekeler looked.
Yeah. And Ekeler does look good.
He does. Yeah, he looks really good. And I'm trying to buy low on Ekeler. Like, everyone's like panic mode. Like, let's sell Ekeler. I got to get rid of this guy immediately. That's interesting. I'm trying to get him where I can for cheap if people are willing to just give him up. Because I think he's going to continue to have a role. It's not going to be this good. He's not going to touch the ball 20 times. He had a role last year. He had some good games as like a flex PPR guy.
Yeah, he's a flex PPR guy. That's exactly.
I want that on my team right now.
That's exactly what he's going to be like. In that, where we thought Latavius Murray would have been coming into the year if Breeze was still the quarterback, that he would have like fringe value. Like, if you had to play someone, you can play him. I guess Jordan Howard's now that guy.
I mean, yeah, it is.
You said you played against him.
I played against Jordan Howard, and to make matters worse, like, I'm 44 points down heading into the weekend, and buddy has Patrick Mahomes. Like, thanks for coming out. Like, I'm completely finished. But yeah, I mean, this guy also had Melvin Gordon on his bench, so he was pretty thin. And there's obviously a couple teams on bye. I don't think he had Bell, but he was forced to play Howard, and it screwed me. I think I saw a tweet from Jake Seeley. He was like, on Yahoo, 10% started.
4%. 4% started Jordan Howard in their lap. Like,
and imagine I went against that.
What was the upside? I mean, obviously we saw what the upside was, but like, best case scenario in your mind from Jordan Howard going into the Thursday night game would have been like, well, maybe he gets like 2 goal line touches, but like realistic.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is like, oh, he's gonna have 40 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would take that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, oh, he scored 3 touchdowns. He caught a pass.
I know. Yeah, he did. And he looked good. At the same time, the offensive line just dominated. So there was a lot of holes that he just kind of ran through. But I have noticed a trend with him over the past couple of weeks is a lot of people in Philadelphia have been crying for him to get the ball more, especially as the red zone back. And we've seen that in a couple occasions now. I think he has like four rushing touchdowns, all from like inside the the 10 or whatever.
It's pretty clear, and we've discussed Miles Sanders a few times on this show, is that like he can't get himself up the field.
No.
But he can get to the edge really quickly.
He can.
And Howard is probably your bruiser between the tackles.
He
and
is.
The problem is you're just never going to know.
You're never going to know. It's always going to be a split backfield. They said the stat yesterday, and I was aware, I've talked to you about this, but I didn't know this actual number. And I think Joe Buck said it yesterday as well, is that no running back on his roster, like Doug Peterson's roster, since he's been there with the team for like the 4 years, has averaged more than 60 rushing yards like on a season. So like per game, you know what I mean? So like that just goes to show right there, like they're just going to continue to use guys and just rotate them through. Even when Howard put together 3 or 4 solid runs, it's Miles Sanders coming in, and then all of a sudden Darren Sproles is in, and it's frustrating for sure. But I mean, Howard is, I guess you're right. He's probably a flex in a pinch. You're hurting. You're never going to be able to trust that consistency.
It's a lot like just playing Adrian Peterson. Like you're hoping he falls in. If he falls into the end zone, it's a fine week, and that's all you're realistically looking for.
If there was no Sanders, holy crap! I mean,
then they would sign
J.J.
Who knows? And they would play that guy for 40% of the time.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Back to the Gordon thing, though. Like, if the giveaway is who would you trade 1-for-1 for Melvin Gordon right now? Like, if we had to re-rank Ekeler and Gordon the rest of the year, like, what are the chances Ekeler is just better than Gordon and or keeps the high end of this job? It's not going to happen, right?
No. Gordon is good. He's a pretty solid talent, and they're going to want to give him the ball. And who knows what their mindset's going to be throughout the year too. Like, do we plan on really signing Gordon? We know what he wants money wise. He came back to us, and we're not going to sign him for this money because we're going to drive him into the ground. Like, that's certainly a possibility too. So I think the touches probably go like 70-30. There could be some 60-40 games like in the first couple of weeks, but I think like when the Chargers are rolling and Gordon is completely healthy and feeling pretty good, I would say it's like a 70-30 type split. And Gordon's can catch the ball too, so it's not automatic that Ekeler's going to come in on third down rolls either.
No, I think we're going to see scenarios where they're not going to phase Ekeler out of the offense. He'll just have drives, but goal line wise, it's probably going to be Melvin Gordon. Like,
it should be. It always has been.
If you had Todd Gurley, would you trade him straight up for Melvin Gordon?
Yeah, I would.
If you had Josh Jacobs, would you trade him straight up for Melvin Gordon?
I would, yeah.
If you had
Connor.
Really, Connor?
Mixon.
I think Connor's due for a big bounce back.
I think he is too, and I think after that you sell him. There's a couple guys. Adams was one of those guys you had to get. Evans a couple weeks ago. Connor's one of those guys that I feel the opposite. Like, if he had that big game in what is a good matchup because teams have been able to run on Cincinnati, that I would turn around and I'd flip him, because I am a little bit worried about his health, and I don't like this Steelers team. I don't like the outlook of him.
So I'm trying to think of like the tier of where he would be.
To me, he's a top 10 back.
Who's better, Le'Veon Bell or Melvin Gordon? Probably Bell.
Yeah.
Chubb or Gordon? Chubb.
Yeah, that's pretty close to me.
Do you remember when there was all the worries that Kareem Hunt was going to come back? I don't think that's a worry.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, he will come back.
He will come back, but I mean, again, like, what's that, week 11? And at that point, like, he's not going to come in and get 15 carries. He's going to come in and get a handful. Chubb would really have to struggle, and he's been fine. He's just not getting the ball.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, but he is getting the ball. It's just not when we want him to.
Yeah, I guess not as much as we.
He's been fine. Like Dalvin Cook, obviously.
He's been okay.
Dalvin Cook, obviously not. So Mixon, you would.
Mixon,
I feel like that's very close. I mean, Gordon's probably in the better situation. He's probably the better back. So yeah,
I would have had Gordon ranked ahead of Mixon heading in. Yeah. And I would have just given the edge because of the better offense.
But we didn't, because we didn't know when the holdout was going to happen.
Exactly. So,
yeah, he's like bottom end top 10, like 7, 8, 9 rest of the season.
Yeah.
So where does that put Ekeler then? Like, would you rather have Ekeler or James White? I'd rather have James White.
I would rather have James White, but that's really close. Like, that's in that range. So like late teens, early 20s.
Early 20s, like mid 20s,
yeah,
I guess.
like I feel like I have White kind of ranked there, and like from 23 to 26. 27 every week.
Would you rather have Chris Thompson or Austin Ekeler?
I would rather have Ekeler. Just give me the better offense.
Well, it's not only the better offense. The one thing that we do need to factor into this as it pertains to Austin Ekeler, and it's one of the things that Dr. Jesse Morse is not on the show this week, but follow him on Twitter. He's going to be very active, that we talked about going into the season. These guys that actually have extended holdouts put themselves at a higher risk of re-injury just because they're not, it's almost like they're preseason now. Like they haven't been around. They haven't been taking the hits, that they're kind of coming in fresh.
Yeah.
And that we know what Eckler's role now is without Melvin Gordon.
Right.
And it's like a top 5 guy in fantasy, that you need to factor that into in case something happens to Melvin Gordon, that you don't just give away Ekeler for pennies.
That's why I'm trying to get.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like I think that's the, like James White is never going to be more than James White. Michelle could die tomorrow, and then like Burkhead would be in.
Yeah.
And even with Chris Thompson, we've seen, like, I mean, Geis gets hurt, Adrian Peterson comes in. If Adrian Peterson gets hurt, Chris Thompson's not getting 20 touches a game. It's just not happening.
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it, dead on. So if anything does happen to Gordon, we've seen it with Bell to start the season. Like this guy held out all year, and then he dinged up his shoulder. He's fine, but he had that MRI. I mean, that's from a guy who hasn't taken hits in a long time, like 15, 16 months.
And he got a camp in.
Yeah. You're right. He got a camp in, but he didn't play any preseason, which I was a little concerned as an owner, like, oh, this guy hasn't taken any contact yet. What happens when he's going to take that big contact? But you're dead on with Ekeler because we've already seen the role with Gordon now. And Gordon has suffered injuries over the past couple of years. I don't think he's played a full season yet.
No, he usually plays like 13, 14
games and finishes a top 10 RB.
And a lot of that is due to, especially the last few years, like Eckler's good. We can play Ekeler. We're not too concerned about it. Do you think that the Chargers are just sitting all of these people because they're playing the Dolphins? Like, do you think some of these guys could have played?
Yeah, I do think that.
That's such risky biz.
It is risky. Again, it is. Yeah, I think, well, I was surprised to see Mike Williams play last week. And, all the reports that I saw was that he wasn't.
No, that was 2 weeks ago against the Lions.
Was it 2 weeks? Okay, so we played, and I was surprised to see him play that game. So obviously he's not 100%. I'm thinking, they're playing Miami, and that it is really risky. But I think that they could still win. Oh, I don't know if they cover those
I think
points,
I think they're probably still going to cover. We'll see.
Yeah.
Like, just that offensive line is so bad, and then you have Bosa and Ingram coming at Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
You know who's super sneaky and who's back this week is Albert Wilson.
Yeah, and you and I like him as much as you do.
I like Preston Williams just because I think that he's a good player.
Yeah.
And against this, I mean, these are just the offensive injuries for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean,
their defense is super banged up.
The show's not long enough to get into them.
Casey Hayward may or may not play at this point, but those are like deeper threats. It didn't seem like they had their Julian Edelman. Their Julian Edelman is Albert Wilson. Like he's going to run 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. He's super quick. He's super fast. And there is easier throws. Like he could pile out, like if he's truly back, he's still questionable with the calf. Missed the last 2 games. So you hope that he's 100% now, but he could pile up like 6, 7, 8 catches in this game just by accident.
Yeah, easily. I drafted him in a couple spots, and unfortunately, like he got hurt right away. So I had to drop him in some shallow leagues. But I like him. I liked what I saw from him last week. You bring up last year. You bring up good points. He's that easy completion guy. I was pretty impressed with. I mean, how impressed can you be with Miami's offense? But I at least Preston Williams was getting some 12 targets. He seemed like Rosen's guy that he was going to take some shots with downfield. So I mean, you figure at some point, probably all year, Rosen's probably the quarterback as long as he stays healthy. They're just going to see what they have with him now at this point, even though they are going to draft somebody. They will, that's probably a connection I'll keep an eye on. But I mean, where's the upside, right? This is a ton of volume. You just hope he catches 1 or 2 long passes.
I just think the one, with Williams, maybe just garbage time touchdowns is all you're really looking for. And hopefully he piles up enough along the way that it establishes a floor. With Wilson, he's just so fast, like off the break around the line of scrimmage, that he can turn a bubble screen into a 70-yard touchdown. Like, I think the upside lies with him. Like, would you rather, if you were in a pinch this week, let's say you had T.Y. Hilton, and we don't think he's going to play. It's confirmed that he's out, which is not the case right now. He's doubtful. Right. But would you rather play Inman or Albert Wilson? I think they'd be right around the same range.
They probably would be. I think I would play Inman there.
I think I would play Inman too.
Yeah, I think I would just take the upside and play Inman, knowing that he's the 2 in this offense. And Williams has had some targets. Benjamin obviously has had a couple that he hasn't been able to reel in. So there's an opportunity there for a few grabs. So I would take. I think Inman is very interesting. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about T.Y. Hilton for a second, because it looks like he's going to be a no-go with this quad injury. He's doubtful. I was talking to Paul before the show that if somehow we're gonna know because it's in Indianapolis, it's an early game, so we'll know by the time 11:30 comes around. If he's somehow active, I think he did this last year too, where he was he was basically out and then all of a sudden he's playing.
Yeah,
play him on DraftKings.
Yeah,
because no one will play him.
Yeah.
And if he's healthy enough to play, he's just going to go ham on the Raiders.
Yeah, he's done this numerous times over the course of his career. He's played through injuries, and it's been remarkable what he's been able to do through those injuries. Wasn't it a playoff game last year?
Even last week, he wasn't supposed to play. He comes in and just lights it up in the first half.
That playoff game last year, I remember it. He wasn't 100%. Obviously, we all knew that he was going to play, but he wasn't able to practice. And he was clearly limping, like with going back to every huddle and the sidelines. And he balled out in that playoff game against the Texans. So yeah, I would play him. And if he doesn't play, I think we can get cute about
just pass.
Right. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You get cute about Deion Kane and Paris Campbell, but I think most of the targets go to the two tight ends. If I were to choose one, it would be Ebron. But I think it's a Marlon Mack game.
I am 100% on board with you. But the people, at least according to fansharesports.com, promo code PME if you want 10% off. 10%, 20%, I don't even know what it is. It's off something. It's at least 10%.
It's 10, I think.
But Mac is coming in as like a very chalky running back. I got some ideas about that later on, how to get off of that if you want to. But if Hilton ends up going, play him. He's just a super leverage play with high ups. It could be a 0, but I lose every week. Listen, I lose every week anyway. What's the difference? At least give me a guy who has some upside.
And it's worth it. Yeah, if you could get a guy with, that kind of upside of the low ownership, it's like Hopkins. Like, people don't want to play Hopkins now. He had the one bad game. If I'm going to get Watson and Hopkins potentially this week with a low ownership, I'm doing it every time.
It's funny that we'll talk. I guess we'll talk about that when the DraftKings comes around. I talked like Siege was on the show this week, and I mean, having Siege on is just funny to listen to people beat up on Siege, but how much they hate Siege. Who's actually like a super nice and good guy.
Why do they hate him so much?
Because he's an asshole online. He plays like a loudmouth. He's like the non-fun version of Cust. With his bad takes, but he's actually super nice. But we were even talking about it, like, people are obviously going to use Mahomes. Everyone's going to use Danny Dimes. The world is using Russell Wilson. You talk about that Hopkins-Watson stack. I kind of like that. You know who people aren't using this week? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I get it, but like, the upside is so high.
The upside is so high that I think we saw his floor last week. What was it, 21 DraftKings points? He had a bad passing game, 0 touchdowns. And what does he do? That's the thing. When you're not going to get those good passing games, when he can't hit his wide receivers or Andrews is hurt, dealing with an injury, he's going to use his legs. He's eventually just going to say, screw it. I'm not passing the ball down the field. I'm just going to use my legs and run around. You know who is a guy that I think is getting overlooked? Nobody likes Jared Goff anymore.
Oh, you say
Nobody
that. You say that.
Is his ownership high?
His ownership is projected to be the 3rd highest at quarterback.
So my feeling was that he was too highly priced, and if you look there at those quarterbacks that are on the board, all of them are averaging, like, besides Baker, averaging like 20 plus DK points.
Well, do you know who legit no one is using, which blows my mind? Rivers.
Let's do a Rivers Inman.
Just Rivers, Inman, Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
like,
and
just
then you're
be
good
on
to
your
go.
way. You know who the ball is going to.
Yeah, I mean, Allen leads in every single category out there.
Yeah, like he's super chalky. Ekeler's super chalky, but no one's using Rivers or anyone else.
Yeah, that's pretty strange. Really,
I get it, but
yeah.
I guess people just don't want to.
I like Goff in that range because we're just talking about Jones and how good he looked, and we were just talking about the top of the show about that secondary in Tampa. They're not. Gurley hasn't been productive on the ground. They can stop the run.
A good run D.
Yeah, and Goff just has so many weapons. Plus, at home, I was looking at his numbers at home: 22-3 touchdown interception ratio last year. Averaged 320 yards passing. On the road, it's much different. It was like 10-9 and 240. I know he's a different quarterback this year, but more comfortable at home.
So I picked the Raiders to cover the 9 against the Colts this week. And I'm slowly churning around to Josh Jacobs as being a good play this week. I don't know whether I objectively think that, but I actually own him on every team that I have. So I just kind of want it to be true.
I get like that with Montgomery. This is the week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because there was a big case to be made, like even like preseason stuff. Do you draft Jacobs or do you draft Montgomery? I was 100% on Team Jacobs.
Yeah.
Feel like I'm still winning that one. I don't win much when it comes to this guy versus this guy.
You are. It's just the game script. This is a game, I like him this week because this is a game that I think they could keep close, especially if there's no TY.
So TY is listed as doubtful. We don't want to play any of the receivers. They promoted a guy named Ashton Dolan who ran a 4.43 40 at the combine.
Okay.
So he could just be a burner if you're looking for someone to hey, maybe they go deep.
Sure.
Brissett's also interesting this week because you don't know who he's going to pass to.
You don't
But
know.
it's a good matchup.
And he can run.
Yeah. Darius Leonard is out again. with a concussion, and Malik Hooker is out in this game too. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Like,
That's a big
the
blow.
Indy defense has been beaten down a little bit, that if the Raiders do want to keep it close, turn around and hand it off to Jacobs. Gruden even talked about this week getting him more involved in the passing game, and he wasn't on the injury report where last week he was dealing with a hip and knee, and he was sick.
And he was sick, and he was like on like a couple different IVs or before the game. So yeah, this is a game that I think he's going to be involved. And you're right, I heard that from Gruden, and he has been running some routes like when he's on the field. He just hasn't gotten the ball. So
Derek Carr sucks.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Carr is brutal. But I agree. I like the price, and I think people are just off of him in general because of that, because they feel like he's not going to get any work in the passing game. But that's not the case. I mean, he had the one catch week 1. He was good after that catch, and we still haven't seen the best of him yet.
No, and the one thing that you can point to, the problem is it's the Raiders and they're not good.
Yeah.
Is that once they get inside the opponent's 20-yard line, Jacobs time.
Yeah. I like that bet. The Raiders, it was good to jump on that. I think it's like 6.5 now.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It got up to 8 or 9.
I think with the recent TY news.
7 now.
7?
Yeah. Watch the Colts fucking smoke them. Because they're not good.
They're not good, but I think TY being gone is going to be a problem for them, because Jacoby Brissett he's much like Teddy Bridgewater, and you saw last week. He doesn't take any shots downfield. He's very conservative.
He is better than Teddy Bridgewater.
He's better than Bridgewater, but he's like him in the way that he just plays it safe and doesn't take too many shots downfield. If you watch that offense, it's Mac. I mean, he leads the NFL in carries. Like, they use that offensive line. They keep things simple for Brissett, right? I mean, use the 2 tight ends, like I said. They're not taking a ton of shots. And without T.Y. Hilton there, I don't know. Maybe they'll use the burner Ashton Dulin. Yeah. Who knows?
Rashad Higgins looks like he's like real iffy to play against Baltimore. He's missed the last 2 weeks. Probably you weren't going to play him anyway.
No.
Danny Amendola? Like, I thought this was a mistake because I hadn't really heard anything about Amendola. He's dealing with a chest injury. He's like legit doubtful and probably not going to play. They promoted a guy named Tom Kennedy.
Yeah, he took a big shot in that Eagles game last week.
I thought it was just Roto World being racist, that they were like, oh, Julian Edelman has a chest injury. I mean, Danny Amendola has a chest injury, but apparently he does too.
They do have an agenda over there.
Yeah, little white receivers. They all got Cole Beasley, chest injury. Yeah. Trey Quinn, chest injury. Hunter Renfrow. Chest injury. We'll just put chest next to all of them. We'll have to be right. But it looks like he's a no-go. I don't have any interest in Tom Kennedy, but it's a name against the Chiefs.
Sure.
A game where they have to be thrown.
Yeah, I was in on Stafford last week. Didn't work out.
I don't understand how it didn't work out.
It didn't work out because
Philly kept fumbling?
Philly actually controlled that game for most of it.
They should have won.
They should have won. They had like over 400 yards offense. They just had 7 drops, and maybe they shouldn't have canceled practice because obviously they weren't feeling themselves. They had some fumbles, some turnovers. So I think that's how, Detroit had that touchdown to start the game on special teams. So like that's why it didn't work out. Kenny Golladay wasn't good. It was Marvin Jones who was good. But I think they're going to be forced to throw the ball a little bit more in this game, don't you? This is Mahomes' first game in a dome.
Someone showed the clip. I think it was a preseason game against Atlanta that like the last throw that Patrick Mahomes made inside, he threw like 90 yards in the air. It was like, oh my God.
And Hardman was talking about how fast, like he saw some numbers, like next gen stats had how like he hit like I think 20 miles an hour or whatever his speed was. He's like, wait till I get into the dome, I can break records. Like, and that Kansas City's just feeling themselves that they know they're just going to try that once.
It's funny, like there's a lot of people like even just to look at the line of that game, it's still 6 right now.
I know
it's
fishy.
It's a lot like you said last week. It was super fishy.
I'm all over Casey.
I'm all over Casey. I think the world is all over Casey.
I don't understand it. I don't get the line. I understand Detroit is unbeaten, but let's settle down, guys.
They should have lost every game they've played.
Yes, so yes. They got the tie. Yeah, absolutely.
Like the Chargers worked them, and they won that game. Philly worked them. They won that game. Like all of the mistakes that Philly and the Chargers make are mistakes that Kansas City doesn't make. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And yeah, there's nothing to say. Just bet under first quarter and over second quarter, and you'll be fine. Yeah. This is the same thing we talked about with the Chiefs, just not getting a ton of respect. I don't know what Vegas's deal is with the Chiefs. Like they're just forgetting. I don't get it. Maybe whatever algorithm they're running just loves the Lions a lot, and so far so good. Sure, but I mean, even Stafford, he's going to play, but I saw he popped up the injury report today too, questionable. That could be fake news. Yeah, Tom Brady's on the injury report, by the way. Yeah, he's always on the injury. He's been on the injury report for 15 years. But yeah, I'm going to go back to Golladay, and Marvin Jones is interesting. I can't get behind Hawkinson.
anymore.
I think that Hawkinson has 3 touchdowns called back the past 2 weeks.
That's a good point.
Like it's not like they're not. It's just he has no floor.
Right.
Like he's not going to have the 6 for 80 no touchdown game. It's probably going to be like 3 for 30 and 2 touchdowns is his.
And they want to run, but like you say that with every team, you want to run and keep Mahomes out the field, and then he throws a touchdown, 2 passes, and they have no choice, right? But I think Carrion could have a much better game. Kansas City's a little bit easier to run on than the Eagles, and I was encouraged that he had 21 touches.
And he got all those.
He's getting all of it now for sure. There's no question.
Damian Williams is out for the Chiefs, so we're gonna get Darrell Williams and LaShawn. I think LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah,
he's trending towards playing.
He posted on Instagram immediately after the game. He'll be back next week. Hashtag ring chasing. Hashtag 12K chasing.
I have them back to back in my rankings. I think it's like a split. I don't think McCoy is healthy enough just to turn the keys over to him. I think they want to limit what he's up to. Now, indoors, it's a bit of a different story because of the wet field conditions last week. That's how he turned his ankle again.
Yes.
That's not on the table this week, but he's been limited.
Yeah.
Like I would say that he probably gets like 65-35 to Williams.
I mean,
and maybe they'll use Darwin Thompson. I don't know. Like,
you don't know.
I would play McCoy.
Yes.
And that I would play Williams as a flex, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
There's enough points.
Yeah, exactly. Just get a piece of the offense. I mean, so I spent so much money in one of my leagues on DeMarcus Robinson. I understand Tyreek Hill's coming back. Like, I want a piece of this offense while Hill is not around. And who knows if Hill's going to be able to stay healthy or Sammy. So just get a piece of the offense. I wouldn't play him in DK, but I'd play him as flex. I would play LaShawn McCoy on DraftKings, though, because I think people are worried. Played him last week, too. His ownership was completely low. The reports before, like
he's not starting.
He's not starting was enough for nobody to play him, and for people to put him down the rankings. It's like we've said all year about Damian Williams. He only needs 10 to 12 touches in this offense to be good. The same goes for everybody else in that backfield.
Rashad Penny is now listed as questionable. I believe he got in limited work on Friday. There wasn't like a big report. He was just listed as questionable. I have him out of my rankings right now, but where this is a 4:00 game, I actually did move Chris Carson down because it's going to be unless we find out Saturday or Sunday that he's definitely playing or he's definitely out. I think you have to veer on the side of caution with Chris Carson solely because if Penny plays, it's going to hurt his stock. But if Penny doesn't play, he actually has a ton of upside in this game.
A ton of upside. I'm very interested in him. I want Penny to go away. Even if Penny does play, I still think I'll take some DraftKings shots on him. I will play him anyways in my lineups, knowing where I drafted him.
Good way to use the late swap, too.
Great way, yes, to use a late swap. It's a good call. And it's just such a good matchup. And my thing is, like, I understand that he's one fumble away from being absolutely done. I get it. Pete Carroll has said that they do believe in him. He never had any fumble issues before, even in college. Like, he just never had them. I don't know what's going on with him, but I feel like he knows that this is it. Like he knows, like I better show up this week in a very easy matchup against Arizona, and let's run the ball, hold on to the rock. I think he's going to get a legit opportunity, and that just makes me want to play him. But I get the fear. If he does have another fumble, Pat, that's it.
He's probably done.
He's probably done. Yeah, and they're looking for another back. They lost that game last week because of him and some special team stuff.
Yeah.
They did,
yeah.
Yeah. If he doesn't fumble where he fumbles, like he continues to get reps and play, they were bringing up Procise to run into, like Paul said, and before we got on here, into a box. Like it just wasn't working. And Russell Wilson obviously had to call his own number. That's what you like if you're a Wilson owner. My goodness, he threw the ball 50 times and ran a couple in. There's no run game. He's going to just take matters into his own hands.
Chris Carson destroyed my over 16.5 carry prop despite having 11 after like.
What did he end up with, 15?
I think he had 14. But he had 11 after just over the first quarter. I was like,
he was on his way.
Easy money.
Yeah, he was on his way, and this is what they did last year. He was top 5 in carries. He was the goal line back. He's just having issues hanging on the ball. But I think this is a get-right game for him. And I honestly feel like because it's Arizona, they'll give him an opportunity to. Like, if he fumbles, it probably won't be the end of the game, but it'll be the end of him.
Well, the one thing that Arizona does more than any other team is put 8 in the box to stop running backs. Yeah. I don't know why they do that exactly, but...
That's why everyone's passing on them?
Yeah, that's what you do, apparently.
Okay.
Terry McLaurin, scoring McLaurin, which is one that's never really chucked out there, by the way.
Nice, I like that one.
I had Terry Cherry as well, because he's always on top.
Terry Cherry.
You can have bopping the cherry.
He's actually really good.
He should play on Sunday, but he popped up with a hamstring problem and initially like, end of the world.
Yeah.
He's not going to play, but he might not be 100%. Like if you wanted to go to P-Rich.
And I wanted
to
Trey anyways.
Quinn for that matter, but like this might actually hurt McLaurin's ownership. He's scoring McLaurin. He's only $4,500 on DK. Like almost like if Hilton plays, roll the dice and take your shot. I do the same.
I would do the
McLaurin.
same too. Yeah. Especially because I feel like if he isn't close to going, you would think Washington with like a rookie wide receiver. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt that like they'll just sit him out. But if he is active, I will play him because he is that good. Dude set an NFL record for his first 3 games. Like what he's done, he's been phenomenal.
And I can't find like a very logical person in this range to actually go to off of him. Like if you had, let's say you had built a DraftKings lineup,
yeah, that's an ugly.
and you had Score and McLaurin in at $4,500. Like, do you go to Fuller?
Yeah, that was where I was gonna go. Fuller,
or do you just drop all the way down
to Richardson?
You could go all the way down to Richardson. You could go to Keyshawn Johnson at $3,200. We'll talk about this in a second. But like Dontrell Inman at $3,000.
Inman is actually probably the play. I mean, Fuller's going to have one of those games, and he hasn't had it yet. You know he's going to have one of those games.
The air yards are there.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of interested in him this week because I want to get on him now before it's, when he has a blow-up game, I'm not going to be playing him next week.
Well, you could get up to DK Metcalf as well, who I think is super interesting this week because if you look at the ownership, Russell Wilson's going to be the highest owned quarterback. Will Disley's going to be the highest owned tight end, at least projected wise. And Tyler Lockett is going to be the second highest owned wide receiver on the DraftKings main slate. The one guy that's not being mentioned or used is DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
So if you don't use those other guys, use Metcalf and just try to box everyone out and hopefully he has the huge game.
Yeah, and Metcalf Lattimore was on him for most of that game last week. And what I've noticed from Russell Wilson over the past, his first few games is Metcalf is his guy.
Take a shot.
Yeah.
And it would have been Mike Williams, but Mike Williams is out.
Right, Williams is out. So,
And Ramsey might not play for the Jags either. So either Sutton or Sanders could get themselves open here.
I'd like Sanders. I'm interested in Sanders. He's dealing with something as well, which maybe makes me think that
he's an old man,
a little lower than normal. I don't think it's an Achilles, which is positive, but I do like him. No, Ramsey is pretty solid. He kind of down game last week too. So yeah, Metcalf is very, very interesting. It's a great pivot because are you going to play Lockett and Wilson? Like almost to the point now where like. And I know that Disley is going to be extremely through the roof.
I probably won't. I wouldn't encourage a lot of people not to do that, but like I don't enter the Millionaire Maker to try to double my money.
Right.
So
try to win.
If I know that a combined 20% of the field is going to have these 3 guys, I mean, most of the time I'm going to lose. They're the right plays.
Yeah.
But if they don't hit and my people hit, at least I create a path where I can try to win $1 million.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm not concerned about getting my money back.
Yeah, I think that path is kind of pivoting and going with Metcalf.
Yeah, Metcalf is probably the guy that I would use. That was really hard. You can get away from Russell Wilson because there's so many good quarterbacks.
Yes.
You can get away from Lockett because there's so many good wide receivers even around him. But there's no other good cheap tight ends besides Disley.
Yeah, you're right. And I probably will just lock in Disley.
I might just use Waller.
Yeah, sure. Nothing wrong with him.
He's in between Ingram and Disley. He's like 47.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. I like Waller and Ingram the most this week. But yeah, I mean, the matchup's there. It's a copycat league. Everybody is lighting up the Cardinals with their tight ends. And, they trade Nick Vannett. Like, it's just everything is just suiting up real nice for him.
They signed Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
Richie Tenenbaum. He's back.
He's back with his boy. Yeah.
So McLaurin with the hamstring should play. Chris Godwin, his hip, should also end up playing. In a bad matchup against the Rams. I've knocked them down both a bit just because I don't know if they're going to be 100% or not. They're still like starts, but they're not like great starts.
Yeah.
I do worry about this for Evans, though. Like, I would almost prefer Godwin be healthy in this matchup.
Sure.
Like, he might get more volume because of it, but you can put a whole lot of coverage on him if you know that Chris Godwin's all gimpy on the other side of the field.
It might be an O.J. Howard game.
That's interesting.
It might be an O.J. Howard game. The Rams dial up so much pressure. They're so good at getting after the quarterback. I mean, they knocked out Breeze a couple weeks ago. Last week they were pretty, obviously Cleveland's line is not good, but they were all over Baker, and they're going to be all over this weak offensive line in Tampa too. So I'm a little bit worried about Evans as well. I am interested in O.J. Howard. It's another pivot.
Yeah, potentially so. Yeah, I hadn't really considered him all that much. I just kind of wanted to avoid the Bucs in general because, like you mentioned, bottom 5 offensive line and giving up sacks already, and they really
It's not good. Yeah,
I
like the Rams a lot this week.
Rams D is nice.
Yeah, real nice.
And Siege hated them, so that means you should probably go to them.
Perfect.
Edelman, like all the other white receivers except for Danny Amendola, looks like he's going to play. It looks like Josh Gordon is going to play.
Yeah.
Devin Singletary appears like he's going to be in as well. I wouldn't expect him to play. Like, he wasn't playing a major role anyway.
No.
So
It was a limited role. I think this is going to be an offensive struggle for both teams this week.
I agree. Like, unless you're desperately in a pinch, I would play Gore over.
Yeah.
Not that I want to play Gore, but I
Right.
would play
I
Gore.
played like Dorsett, but I don't expect like a whole lot.
James White is the guy you want.
James White is the guy. I mean, Burkhead is certainly trending up, but James White is the guy.
He's back now.
Yeah, but I mean, he's trending up and Michelle's trending down.
Yeah, I don't think any of those affect James White though. Like,
No,
especially
White
in this
has
game,
White has a role.
especially in this game where they're gonna have to get the ball out quickly. That spells James
It's
White.
a White and Edelman game. Those guys are going to combine for 15 catches.
Mark Andrews looks like he's gonna be good to go with his foot injury. Ito Smith shed his non-contact jersey, but I don't know if he's actually passed concussion protocol yet. So keep an eye on him. It's not so much that if Ito Smith plays, play Ito Smith. It's if Ito Smith plays, do not play Devonta Freeman.
Right. Yeah, Freeman looked a little bit better last week.
He also had 90% of the snaps, which is not going to happen if Smith is active.
Right. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. I'm not interested in Freeman anyways, but he's getting to the point now on DraftKings where you almost take shots on him though. Like 5K range.
I just don't think he's good.
That's fair.
Like,
yeah, it's completely fair.
I think Jacobs is good. So
Yes.
I would roll the dice on Jacobs. I think
Yeah.
Freeman is actively bad, so I just don't want to use him.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan Howard's actively bad, and he scores fantasy points, so you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the offensive line. Philly's got a better one than Atlanta.
Yeah. And it seems like they do want to run.
Yeah, they do. They do.
The other injuries, Vance McDonald is in a shoulder sling right now.
Ooh, that's not good.
He didn't practice on Friday, but that doesn't make that much of a difference because they play on Monday night. So it's about Saturday practice with Vance McDonald. Just how about this? Don't play Vance McDonald.
Agreed.
They
Look
just,
for
they just
somebody
traded
else.
for Nick Vannett. Don't play him either. Just find someone else.
Yeah, find somebody else. Find another tight end. I mean, I didn't even know what. I'm sure Disley's owned now.
He is owned now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but that was probably the move. Like Vance was in a sling on Monday.
Is
If
Reed playing? Is he?
No, Reed is ruled out.
So I mean, you could do Davis if you wanted to.
Yeah, Davis is still out. It's not great.
No,
but
it's not great, but you're
fine.
just trying to plug a hole. Yeah.
So guys that are out, Traquan's going to be out again. Saquon's obviously out. Alan Hearns, after getting rocked last week,
Yeah, did he ever?
he out. Michael Gallup's probably going to miss another couple weeks. What do you think about going back to Devin Smith this week? No one has interest in him
Yeah,
anymore.
now I'm more interested in him. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of how I roll when I play DFS. Like,
Yeah, the sleeper that didn't pan out last
Yeah.
week, just go to that guy again. the next week.
his ownership in one of my tournaments is actually higher than Nelson Aguilar's. Like, it seemed like everybody was just off of Aguilar.
That was
went
our
to
private
Smith.
league, by the way.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Our 10-person league, because we were
yeah.
all watching the show getting all fired up for Devin Smith. Hey, he covered his receiving over on one catch. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's what he'll do.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's a good call. For sure, absolutely. I like the Cowboys. I know like people are trying to make
I love
excuses
them
for
too.
the Saints. Like I don't care that they beat up on brutal teams. Like they're rolling right now, and they have a complete team with a capable quarterback.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things to look at, like, I did this for my SNY hit, I think, but let's live in a world where last week the Saints lose
Yeah.
to the Seahawks. Like a close game. It was like 24-20 or
What's
something
that
like that.
spread?
What's the spread in this game now?
Yeah.
Dallas -5?
I thought, yeah, 4.5. I had the exact same question for Beller on the show that I did with The Athletic. I said, what is this spread if the same thing that you said?
Yeah,
if
and
the Saints lost.
They returned a punt for a touchdown. They picked up a fumble and returned it for a
Right?
touchdown.
Like Seattle gave that game away. Absolutely.
And Teddy Bridgewater so far this year is averaging 6 yards per passing attempt. Dak is averaging 10. That's second in football behind Patrick Mahomes. And you're right.
And they're throwing a lot.
They're throwing a ton. But
Yeah.
like you're right that they haven't played anyone.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not as good as they looked, and we can be completely off base. I locked in Dallas as my super lock this week. Like,
Yeah. I love them.
I think they're gonna curb stomp them.
I think that they win by at least a touchdown. Yeah, I think they come out and they do lean a little bit more on Zeke, but it doesn't matter. Like they're just good. They
Teddy
just really are good.
Almost like Devonta Freeman, Teddy Bridgewater might be actively bad.
Yes, Bridgewater is not great. He's not a great quarterback. I know Payton's had a couple weeks now to prepare with him. Like it's not like they're just throwing him into the fire. But yeah, like I said, he's going to have to take some shots downfield because Dallas is going to score some points. They just are. So it's a good call. Like if you think Lattimore is going to be on Amari Cooper and there's no Gallup again.
Yeah, Devin Smith, captain in showdown.
Yeah, and what could be, we could see 50 points in that game.
Dallas just needs to sell out to stop Kamara.
Yes.
And which is easier said than done.
It is.
But you sell out to stop him.
We have 9 catches last week.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's only Michael Thomas who can beat you.
Yeah.
Come on. It's not happening.
Yeah, Dallas can play with the Saints. I watched the game last year. It was a Van Der Esch. He was all over Kamara.
They have the personnel, and they can
do
even
have
bring
the
in
personnel.
Sean Lee to spell Van Der Esch if they need to keep someone fresh.
They're probably the most sound sound team in the league, other than the Patriots.
The Bills.
Well, they don't have the offense. I
No.
just mean not
Oh,
the
I
defense.
thought you
Yeah,
meant defense.
overall, I would go New England and then Dallas probably. I mean, Casey's offense is legit, but I don't like their defense.
It's like the Bills and Bears have good defenses, but horrible
Yeah.
offenses.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you just give them a little bit of a offensive, if they could just score,
Although-
if Chicago could score 20 points a game, not even 20, if they could score 14.
You know who scores points? The Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Until they get ahead, then they don't. They legit don't know what to do when they're winning.
They really don't know
Like they're
what they
they're
do when
great
they're winning.
in game neutral situations.
Yeah,
or
and
when
coming
they're
from
losing.
behind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like last week to jump out to the lead, like they were playing like, oh, we need to go out and score a point. They scored a bunch of points right away.
I don't know what that's all about.
They get so conservative. Like their only play calls on first and second down when they're like up by 14 points is run up the middle for Frank Gore for 1 yard. That's it. And they just stall. Like they're at, like, you're going to have to embrace, because that game did turn when Allen threw that pick.
Yeah.
And then Cincinnati was able to come back. But you're going to have to live and die by that.
Yeah.
Like your offense can be good with Josh Allen being mobile and doing crazy things. Just
Yeah.
teach him how to throw the ball out of fucking bounds every once in a while. Like Rodgers did it last night, like a couple times. Like, and I know it didn't end up working out for them, but
Yeah.
just don't throw the pick.
Yeah.
Don't throw the crossbody pick because you know you have the arm strength to do it. Sometimes the most sensible thing is just to throw it away and take another shot next time.
That's why I like New England's defense a lot this week, because Allen's got a couple fumbles, he had a couple picks. I feel like they're going to be able to lock down John Brown. I feel like it's just going to be
Beasley
all
could be all
Beasley.
right.
Yeah, Beasley. I saw him on the list earlier. I was going to bring him up.
He's too expensive though.
He is too expensive, but I feel like what did he do last 6-7 catches? Like that's probably what he's going to do this week. Like because Brown is going to get shut down.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they haven't given up anything in months.
So Traquan ruled out. Saquon ruled out. You in or out on Gallman? Would you play Gurley or Gallman this week?
I would play Gurley. I
think I have them. I think I have Gallman one spot ahead of him. Gurley kind of stinks.
Well, he kind of stinks because he's not catching the damn football.
That's the thing. And
Holy crap.
Gallman probably will.
Yeah,
be.
he's had games a couple of years ago when Barkley wasn't a thing. He had a couple. I was going back and looking at the game log. He had some catch games. Yeah, he's not even getting the targets, Gurley. I saw last year it was 10 of 13 games. He had at least 3 catches. He's got 4 through 3. He's not even getting targets. But I would play Gurley like in a season-long league, if that's what the question was.
I'm playing Gallman.
Yeah, I mean,
You playing Gallman on?
I think you play Gallman too. He's just a guy, but he could fall in the end zone
Yeah.
for you get 15
or
touches.
pick up like 5 catches for 25 years. Would
Yeah.
you play Gallman on DraftKings? He's like 4,600, I think.
Yeah, I would.
Like, he's probably the best of the lower price guys. Although
would.
James White is right there. I might just take a shot on James White.
Yeah, and that Rangers more upside, I think, with James White.
I don't know if there's more.
I think
maybe,
there is.
yeah.
I think there slightly is.
Because like if the Patriots come out and tune the bill, like I picked the Bills to cover the 7.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to be super stunned if the Patriots win 30-0.
yeah. It feels like a 24-10 game or
I feel like it's
17.
See, I see
21-14 or something.
17-13, 13-10,
Yeah.
10-3,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Well, there was, I think last year when they played in Buffalo, it was like a 7-3 game and a half or a 7-0 game and a half. Like yeah, Brady owns the Bills, but
This Bills defense is for real.
It
though.
is
and
for
the
real.
Patriots O line is bang the fuck up.
and McDermott has had some success against Brady in the past too. So yeah,
Demir Bird is out with a hamstring
our
injury.
boy.
Yeah, didn't come through for me last week. He was the
I
last
tried.
leg of the parlay I needed to hit, and he didn't hit.
I tried him out too.
I mean, it all came down to that one passing play where Murray threw that interception. I forget who the DB is, and got up like 8 feet into the air.
I know.
Bird catches that, he hits his over, and he could be gone down the field.
Easily. Yeah, he's a burner.
So he's out this week. And they cut Michael Crabtree as well. So that leaves Keyshawn Johnson, the other Keyshawn Johnson,
Yeah.
Trent Sherfield, and Andy Isabella. So Keyshawn was playing like 42% of the snaps anyway. Without Crabtree around, I would have expected his number to go up around 80 to begin with. Now without Bird, who was playing like 95% of the snaps,
Right.
one of these other guys is going to get into the mix too. So just kind of pay attention to beat reports. Sherfield has been playing more, but Andy Isabella is just super fast.
Just super fast.
They might
yeah.
split, but like Keyshawn
like
Johnson, $3,200, like that's a real play
Yeah.
this week because Seattle gives up a ton of points
Oh yeah, yeah.
to wide receivers.
Tons. Look at John Ross in week 1. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And week 1 was his first game. Keyshawn, obviously. I think he had like 12 targets.
Yeah.
I know that game went into overtime. There's a lot of plays, but this has the potential for 90 plus plays as well.
Thursday night football, your Philadelphia Eagles should have lost, but they did not.
Yeah. I thought they played well.
They played okay.
Should have lost. I mean, Green Bay should have tied it. Didn't mean they were going to lose.
Green Bay should have won that game. They went 4 and out from the 1 yard line,
Yeah, I mean-
and then got back down there again and threw a pick.
It reminded me a lot like Cleveland the other night against the Rams. Like, I don't think they should have won that game, but they should have got in the end zone there when they had 4 plays from the 4 or from the 5 or whatever it was, and they didn't try to run the ball once. So it was just so confusing halfway through that game, especially in the third quarter, to see them hand the ball off to Aaron Jones and run into a pile on first down, second down. Like, what are they doing? Why aren't they throwing on this defense that can't stop anybody?
Matt LaFleur comes from Tennessee, and that's the Tennessee playbook.
I know.
Run on first and second down, then we'll figure it out. But no, they actively put themselves into bad situations.
Yes.
From like the beginning of the second quarter through the third quarter.
By trying to run on Philadelphia. Why?
And then all of a sudden they start throwing passes to Aaron Jones, picking up 12 yards a clip.
Exactly. Like, it was really frustrating to see just these coaches kind of just like overthink themselves. Like, when it's working, like, what are you doing? Like, nobody in that Eagles secondary can stop anybody. Like, they haven't been able to do this for 2 years now. Everybody has monster games. It was so obvious that Devontae Adams is going to be able to have a monster. He was like wide open with every throw too. Like, what are you guys doing? He's wide open.
They triple covered him at one point, and he was still
still wide open. So, like, yeah, it was sure the Eagles got away with one, but it is puzzling not to see them try to run that ball at the end like once. Like, try to run. You got 4 plays. Adams is not on the field. Run the ball.
It's too cute syndrome. Like, the whole premise behind this is at one point in the game, the Packers were averaging, and this was well into the fourth quarter, 16 yards per passing play and 2 yards per rushing play. But people get it conflated that, like, we always want teams to pass more. Passing is more successful. However, in short yardage situation around the goal line, the best thing you can actually do to either score a touchdown or get a short yardage first down is A, QB sneak, which just apparently people don't do anymore.
Right.
Except for Brady and Breeze, who do it and Wentz as well.
Too, yeah.
They just lean over the pile and get it.
Yeah. Or a nice little slant.
That's what Rodgers tried.
So they tried. It was very Russell Wilson-like in the Super Bowl.
But in like second and goal from like the 2 yard line and 1 from the 1 yard line, just spread people out and fucking run the ball.
Yeah.
Do it 4 times. It's going to work. It's going to work at least once, and it'll probably work on the first try.
Well, they had, four opportunities? Because before that, they had another chance, and they went for it, and they turned it over on downs at the 1. So, like, they had...
Yeah, they've passed on all 4.
Yeah,
one of them was
like
a read option with Rodgers. Like, what are you doing? Just sneak it. You're right there. Just put the ball over.
I know Rodgers' face on that play, too, was priceless. Yeah, so they had 8 opportunities within the 5.
Well, 6, because they ended up throwing the pick.
Was that on third or second?
That was on second.
Was that on second? Okay, so they had 6, but they didn't try to run the ball once or sneak it once.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know what it is with the quarterback sneak. I was actually last night, like, we had a thread going. I was talking to my friends about it, and Cuss actually brought up the point, like, teams don't want to risk their quarterback getting injured on a quarterback sneak. They want to limit the damage, and I get that part of it. But, like, who gets hurt on a quarterback sneak?
I've never.
It's the lowest impact hit you're going to take in football.
Right. Yeah. You're not getting a ton of guys. You're not getting safeties moving up to the line and really like hammering them. It's just
it's not like it goes boom. It's
exactly. Yeah,
like someone might fall on you awkwardly.
Did you see Case Keenum last week try to do the over the top? Like, does he not know the rules? Like, it's not like you're on the goal line to put the ball over the top. Like,
it can be swatted.
He wouldn't have gotten it. Like, and he didn't. He lost the ball. So I think it's very underrated. It's an underrated move that teams don't.
Well, the biggest thing, the problem is when teams actually do try to run it in that circumstance is they play like bunch formation. They play 12 packages and bring in the biggest guys possible. It's not that that's not going to help because those guys are obviously better blockers. They give you a size advantage on offense. You know what? It creates an easier path for a quarterback sneak or running up the middle. Getting guys out of the box. Yeah. Go fucking 4 wide.
Yeah.
Just take people and listen, if people don't want to cover the receivers, then just throw it to them because they're wide open.
For sure.
It's very sensible.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like
I saw a video of
a lot of it is like retroactive, like, oh, it didn't work out, so now we need to criticize it. But this is something that, I read about it, something that we always kind of knew, but Warren Sharp really laid it out well in his like preseason book about, the 2 best things that you can really do on offense to make your team successful. And it's basically the 2 things the Saints and Patriots do. Throw to your running backs on first down instead of running the ball, and then run the ball on short yardage situations because it's super effective.
Oh yeah, I mean Warren Sharp, you know him. He's a great follow. He busts these numbers out all the time about like how like the percentages of running the ball on first down and throwing the ball on first down, and it's like it's significant. Like it's a massive difference. You just throw the ball on first down. So
and do it off play action.
Do it off play action,
and you don't need to run to set up play action. People just bite on it.
Yeah, people bite on it. Again, like there's just it was very puzzling. LaFleur is somebody that we pick on a lot, and for Freddie Kitchens, this came out later on too. Like that 4th and 9, it looked like Baker called an audible at the line.
Really?
Yeah. There's a video. I'll tweet it out if anybody wants to see. I'll tweet it out after. It was a video of Baker. You can see he was changing the play at the line, and all the offensive linemen like looking at each other. And that's like kind of like the tell sign, like the plays, like they're all like turning their head and talking. And then you can see after the run on the side, you see Freddie Kitchens kind of like throw his towel up. Like, what was that? Like, so like,
and Kitchens took the heat.
He took the heat. I've kind of changed my tune a little bit on him because after the game, I was like,
what are you doing,
this
you
loser? He's just like chewing his gum so loud. And he's like, yeah, it was just a bad call. It was just a bad play. Well, what'd you try to do with that play? Like, it was just a bad play. So like maybe it seemed like now after seeing that video that Baker called an audible.
Which doesn't surprise me because the guy took so many hits in that fucking game. He probably contracted CTE.
Yeah, and Chubb ran the wrong way too. Like the lineman went that way and he was kind of going the other way. So again, I think Baker called that audible and Kitchens was just taking the heat for him. So I take all the negative talk that I had back. Not all of it. Some of it that I had towards Kitchens because I was cursing him out like LaFleur last night. Like, what are you doing?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So from that game last night, Jamal Williams gets hurt, although he posted on Instagram that he's Gucci, which I have no fucking idea what that means. But he said, the only thing hurting right now is my pride for not being able to finish the game. So it looks like he's going to be okay.
Yeah, well, that's good because it didn't look like he was going to be okay.
No, but apparently he's fine. So
he's Gucci.
Welcome back. He's Gucci. Welcome back to Splitsville between him and Aaron Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Adams said he has turf toe, but then you read a report that said he's okay. If he actually has turf toe, he's going to miss at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, I read a report that said that the Packers think that it's not as serious. But yeah, if he has turf toe, I mean, it's definitely 3 weeks. I mean, AJ Green or more. I would assume more actually. Like 3 would be best case scenario, I think. I mean, AJ or Julio, was it Julio or AJ? AJ had it last year or year before? AJ is always popping up. Yeah,
he has everything.
Yeah, he missed. Well, his season was done. He tried to come back, right? He missed a few weeks and he tried to come back, and then that was it.
I think he came back like week 15 and then re-aggravated
and he was done. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And MVS came out of there, but I would assume that him and Geronimo are going to get a lot of play over these next couple of weeks.
Who would you rather have?
I think maybe Geronimo. If you would ask me last week, I would have said MVS.
But it's every single week. Like one of them's good, one of them's bad. And at least they should have a modicum of consistency now. I think I would take the upside of MVS.
Yeah.
Just on a yardage basis. I think that it's probably
the right call.
Geronimo might end up scoring more touchdowns. Like
he's the red zone guy
or something.
Yes, he's the red zone guy. There was a play last night
also,
I noticed.
Stop throwing to Jimmy Graham.
Yeah,
I know he caught a touchdown, but he also dropped 3.
Yeah, he had a couple drops. Why did he go up for one hand? Like, why couldn't he just?
Because he used to play basketball, Meaney.
Did you see him?
He only needs to catch it with one hand.
And he like tried to cradle with his elbow and like bring it down so like slick. It's like, dude, you had that. But there was a play in the game when everybody was healthy. Adams, MVS wasn't in the red zone packages. It was 2 back-to-back plays. He wasn't in there as Geronimo, and obviously he's got 2 red zone touchdowns now.
And they were playing the 12 package with Lewis and Graham both on the field at the same time. And then that other tight end who I'd never heard of before popped up.
Yeah, me neither. I don't even remember what his name is.
It wasn't the laser guy. It was someone else. Yeah. Like, they're just really down guys here.
Yeah. So both of those guys now are going to be in play.
Yeah, probably both top 35 plays.
Yeah,
I would say MVS is probably the better play. But
yeah.
Geronimo's the more available option between the two. We'll check it on the waiver wire show. Week 5, Monday, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time.
Good call.
2 other things here. Well, one, and they kind of both bake into each other. The Eagles going for 2 when they did. I thought it was like the smartest thing in the world. Then I was watching it and I was like, this is super sharp.
Yeah.
To try to get up by 2 scores here. And everyone was like, well, if you just kick a field goal or if you kick the extra point, you'll go up by 8 points. Then you force Green Bay to get a 2 if they ever want to come back. It's like, yeah, but that's still only a 1-score game.
Right.
You can make this out of reach right now for the time being that they would have to physically score, come down the field and score twice, whether it be touchdown, field goal, touchdown 2, whatever. And if you don't get it, Green Bay had already shown you that they're not going for 2.
Right.
That they'll just tie it either way.
Yeah.
So I don't see where the downside lies.
No, I loved it too. I didn't really see anybody complaining. It made a whole lot of sense when they were doing it. I said, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, and it's not surprising. I love the stones that Doug Peterson has, man. Like, he just goes for it all the time, even in situations where you would think the game is halfway through the game, you're on your own 45, and it's 4th and 3. There's so much time left. You're down by 9 to 10 points. Just kick it away. Like, what are you doing? He goes for it because he's confident in his team that he's going to get it over 60% of the time. Yeah. Too many teams are kicking it away and playing conservative, and they haven't. You saw in the Super Bowl, everyone saw that firsthand, the Philly special, but he had done that all year. Like, not that play, a trick play on 4th and goal, but he had gone for it and gone for 2, and it makes a lot of sense. To your point, you just brought it up. Yeah, instead of being up 7 or 8, you're up 9. You're up 9.
And the whole thing about being up 7 is, like I said, Green Bay's not going for 2. They're just going to kick an extra point. And they'll tie you.
Baltimore did something similar.
Well, this is what I wanted to crack down on, because this is how the conversation ended up coming up when I was talking to a few of my friends. Because we were talking, like, is Green Bay going to go for 2 here? And one of my friends said they should go for 2.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? And I actually agree with you. Someone else said, well, it's too early in the game. It's like, why is it too early in the game?
Yeah.
Either you get it or you don't get it, and then at least you know where you stand.
Yeah.
And then someone had brought up the Baltimore thing. It's like, well, if Baltimore hadn't gone for 2 every time, they would have been within 3 points. Like, yeah, but they also scored a fucking touchdown with 2 minutes left to get within 5 points, to get within a chance to get within 3 points. Like, that game wasn't in reach.
Yeah, and Harbaugh said it perfectly.
And Harbaugh went for 4th down in his own end. Why? Because you need to score points to keep. Now, if it was against the Jets, it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
but
he basically said that.
You have to know your opponent. That's a part of this. Like, not everything, like, a lot of people like to look at analytics like it's one way, because the percentages say this, you have to do this. Understanding your opponent is the biggest part of that. You have to know what the situation is, to know if Green Bay's run defense wasn't so shitty, maybe you don't run against them. Maybe you pass against them. But even on that Alshon play, not only was he pass interfered with, he actually just dropped it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So they called the right play. That happened to Cam last year. I remember arguing with Cust about it. Like, well, because they didn't get it. There's a lot of retroactive commentary on getting 2 points and not getting 2 points, but you're looking at one play. It's a very small sample. And yes, you will be judged on that. But Carolina went for it to win the game. I think it was against the Lions.
Yeah, and it was the right play.
And the guy just straight up dropped the ball. Like, he was wide open. It was in his hands, and it, like, bounced off his chest and hit the ground. Like, Cam Newton sucks. Terrible call. It's like, it was clearly the right call.
Yeah, it was clearly the right call. And Harbaugh said that afterwards, basically what you said. Like, he didn't call out the Jets, but he had said, know your opponent. We're not here to tie this game, right? If I would have kicked the extra points and we would have been marching down the field and got our touchdowns when we wanted to and our field goals, we would have been in a situation, if we stopped Kansas City the rest of the way, that we would have been going to overtime. I'm not here to tie the game. We're here to win the game and set ourselves up. And, it made a lot of sense. Plus, you're right. Like, Kansas City's going to come back the other way, and they're going to score points, at least a field goal. So it all makes sense. And the same thing with the Philly special thing. You're playing the New England Patriots. You haven't been able to stop them once leading into halftime. Like, we're not going to settle for a field goal here. We're going to try to get a touchdown.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the whole Kingsbury thing. Like, through the first few weeks, like, he keeps
settling for field goals.
He keeps kicking field goals from the 1 yard line.
They may have beat Baltimore in that game.
I know your defense isn't good, but at least if you turn it over on the 1 yard line, they have to start on the 1 yard line.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm surprised that teams don't go for it more from the 1. And you're starting to see more teams go for 2 at the end when it's tied. Like Jacksonville, I liked that play as well. When you have a back like Leonard Fournette from the 2, like, I didn't work out, but I would do that 8 times out of 10.
Also, put your QB under center.
Yeah.
In that situation, like, don't run a draw play.
It's very obvious.
Like, at least put Minshew, for that play specifically, put him under center to at least fake that he could sneak the ball.
Yeah.
And then you leave yourself open to everything. Like, draw plays are just bad plays.
Yeah, they are. They are bad plays. It was another play last year, too.
They don't work in Madden. Why would they work in real life? Have you ever seen a draw play work in Madden ever?
No.
The computer knows what's up.
Yeah, they really do. Not often. You and I have had this conversation before. I think last year was at the Tennessee game in London when they went for it as well, and they had Derrick Henry, and they just decided to throw like a fade in the end zone to Tyler Sharp or something.
Like, what are you doing?
Or TJ Sharp. Like, you have Henry. You're right there. You have the play. Like, good for you to go for it and get this win, but like, give it to the guy who nobody can tackle. Like,
yeah, and like I said, spread people out, put your quarterback under center, then all of a sudden there are fewer people in the box to actually tackle this guy. So all he actually has to do, I mean, if your offensive line does its job, he walks into the end zone, and if there is a cluster, he has to beat one guy or overpass, and he's a power back.
Yeah.
Like,
coaches know this. I just think that they overthink themselves.
Green Bay overthought what they should be fancier around the goal line.
They gave that game up. They gave it away.
Maybe they thought they would get they wouldn't have to kick an extra point, or they got a free 2 if they scored a touchdown fancier. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, I know. It's the same. Last night reminded me of the Russell Wilson throw to whoever he tried to throw to instead of giving it to Lynch at the 1.
Let's jump into the DraftKings ownership here. Like I had mentioned before, fanshare.com. Go there, put in the code PME, get yourself a discount, and you'll have access to the best aggregated DraftKings ownership, DFS ownership across the board that you're going to find in the industry. They really do a great job over there. Running backs. Austin Ekeler projects at 30%. Marlon Mack after him, and then Christian McCaffrey would be the 3 highest owned guys. There are one pivot in particular I'm really interested in this week, maybe 2. Derrick Henry is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard Fournette's the other.
Mm-hmm. I like Fournette a lot.
People are just off him so much.
We all saw Thursday night. He ran into every run was negative except for that one run. But what I'm encouraged, and I'm sure you are as well, the reason why is his usage in the passing game. This guy's catching balls. He's got 2 games already with 6 catches.
He plays 100% of the snaps.
Yeah, that too.
Eventually, he's just going to fall in the he's going to fall in the end zone for 3 touchdowns one of these weeks. And hopefully it appears in a week where he's 1% owned.
And this could be the week. There in that range is very interesting. Mack is kind of in there.
Carry-on's in there. He's 4th in ownership.
Carry on.
So you have
Jacobs and Fournette. All in that range. I'm probably honestly most interested in Fournette. I think a lot of people will be in on Mack. I think Jacobs will be lowly owned.
Jacobs is a bit cheaper.
I think a lot of people will be on Henry though.
Jacobs and White, I think from the lower 5K, upper 4K, or where you want to go. Yeah. Now paying up for Christian McCaffrey is not a bad idea.
No, never.
Very good idea.
Yeah, it's never a bad
idea.
That
is Cuss one piece of DraftKings advice that actually makes sense. He's like, if Christian McCaffrey is on the slate, I use him every time.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good move.
Because he plays all of the snaps.
And he's great. And
yeah, absolutely. The offense runs through him, especially without Cam there. Yeah, he had an unbelievable game last week. It was really good. He had the long run, but even without that long run, he was fine.
Yeah, Carry-on's the one getting all the ownership. He's $5,400 from down there that I think you can go on to Jacobs at 51 or White at 49.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can mine the same sort of thing.
You've been able to run on Denver this year too.
Yeah.
Jacobs ran on him.
How about
He's giving up 5 rushing touchdowns.
Denver's not good.
Yeah, Denver's not good. Why are they favored? They opened up at 3.5, 4.
It's real sneaky.
Real sneaky.
There's something up about that.
Something really up with that. I mean, I'm on the Jags. They're not great.
They're not going to go on winless at home. Still playing in Denver, especially with Minshew, a rookie. They have no sacks.
But why did they open up at 3.5? Why didn't they just get 3?
I don't know.
It's 3 now. But why was it 3.5? Easily, I was sure if Jacksonville loses this game, I feel like it's by a field goal. No, yeah, I don't know. I'd like Fournette though.
Wide receivers, the overwhelming chalk is Keenan Allen and Tyler Lockett.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. They're super safe, both of those guys, especially Keenan Allen.
If you had to use one of them, it would be Keenan Allen, right?
I would use Keenan for sure. Keenan would be the guy. I'm probably honestly going to pivot off Lockett, whether it's a mistake or not. If I'm playing cash, I'll play him. But in tournaments, I'll probably pivot off of him, like we talked about DK Metcalf. The other guy I'm interested at the top that I already mentioned Hopkins is Julio. I mean, Julio's got a touch in every game. They're in a dome. They're a much better team in Atlanta. Julio's just been. He's been really good this year. If Julio didn't have any touchdowns, we'd be crying about Julio not getting any touchdowns. But nobody's even talking about Julio. He's got, 4 touchdowns in 3 games?
You know the guy, the 2 pivots I like from the top, if you're going to go off Lockett now. And I think the Hopkins and Julio call are probably better calls than the 2 guys that I'm going to give you. But if you want to get, game breakers at super low ownership, no one's going to own Odell.
Right. And Baker.
At all.
Nobody's going to own either of them.
And Baltimore secondary sucks.
You can pass them.
Yeah. And they give up. We just saw them give up big plays. And what does Odell do? He scores big play touchdowns. The other one, Sammy Watkins. Everyone's owning tons of this game. No one's owning Sammy Watkins.
I find that very strange as well. Yeah, Sammy is week 2. Everybody wanted him. They missed out on the week 1. Week 3 was a little bit disappointing as well. You get in on Sammy Watkins. I'm with you on both of those guys. Sammy especially, but I have no problem rolling out a Baker and Odell. Yeah,
I wouldn't even play Baker.
You could just play Odell.
I just play Odell.
Yeah, fine. But I think even. And I don't want to play Landry, but I think both of those guys are going to be heavily targeted. Like, if you're worried about Landry in your season-long formats, I would actually play him like as a flex guy or something, a full-point PPR. He had the most targets he ever had last week. No Njoku. It's going to be tough for Chubb to establish the run against that.
They have a good run defense. Yeah. Like that. It's almost like the Rams receivers against Tampa Bay. Like Tampa Bay not only has a bad pass defense, they have an exceptionally good run defense.
I think Cleveland keeps this game close.
So do I. So Keenan, Lockett, and Cooper Kupp are the 3 highest projected owned, which means basically everyone else from above $6,000, I don't want to say is going unowned, but they'll probably be single digits.
Yeah.
And some of them will have no ownership.
Yeah, like one guy like Woods. People are out on Woods.
Woods and Diggs are interesting pivot plays. I would much prefer Woods.
Me too, because I think this could be a game where Goff throws 3 to 4 touchdowns, and yeah, probably Cooper Kupp is going to get a couple of them. We know now. If you didn't know before, it's his favorite target. And with Gurley not being productive inside the red zone and not catching passes, we saw it last week. Kupp had 2 red zone catches for touchdowns. He's his guy, but Cooks is the one that everyone goes to for like that explosiveness, but Woods is very interesting to me.
Scorin McLaurin was initially projected as 4th, but with this injury, I think that might go down. Like, if his owner, like, if he's going to continue to be chalky, there's probably no need to play him with a hamstring injury. But all of a sudden, like, everyone bails and goes somewhere else, and that's why having the membership to Fanshare Pro is
it's super helpful.
FanshareSports.com under the Fanshare Pro thing, promo code PME, but you'll be able to track that in real time to see, he's going down, people are jumping off. Then all of a sudden you get like a 4% score in McLaurin. Yeah. He starts doing some scoring.
I was interested in Paul Richardson, and McLaurin he's the real deal. I really do feel like that. But for Richardson, I was just thinking like, okay, like both defenses are awful. They're both 1 and 2 in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. Like if it is Richardson, if he does get some garbage time like he had last week, then nice. Like he's a little bit cheaper, but they're so cheap, both of them. Yeah. And what will probably be about 50 points scored in the game.
QBs, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff projected 1, 2, 3, but it's Wilson who's projected.
Goff.
It's just after you get past Russell Wilson, it's like super flat.
Yeah.
And even Russell Wilson's not going to be 20%. So I wouldn't really worry about ownership at quarterback. Tight end, Disley projected at around 24%, Ingram around 20%, and then it's like Waller at 10% are your big 3. It's funny, in this KC game, people are using Mahomes, people are using Robinson, people are using Hardman. They'll probably use Williams and Galladay. Kelsey and Watkins are the 2 no one wants to own, apparently.
Very interested in Kelsey this week.
Like, would you rather pay up as a pivot for Julio or pay up as a pivot for Kelsey?
I would rather pay up for a pivot for Kelsey this week, yeah. Because of what you said. And I've noticed too, like people are a little sour on Kelsey, like draft him first round. He's
been good every game.
He's still a top 4 tight end fantasy wise. Yeah, he has been good every game. He just hasn't had that ceiling game yet. And this could be it against Detroit in a dome. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes never played there. So yeah, very interesting pivot. Both of those guys, like even Mahomes, like I don't feel like his ownership is high enough because everyone just tries to find so much value at the quarterback position.
But there are some people that just go. They
just
log on to it's like the cusp theory with McCaffrey where he just plays McCaffrey. Some people log on to DraftKings, press Patrick Mahomes, and figure out the rest.
It's pretty smart.
It wins.
Yes, you're winning.
We talk about like ownership and game theory. I mean, play Patrick Mahomes. Maybe it's just that simple. Mahomes, McCaffrey, and just play some losers and hope they go off.
Yeah, and if they hit, then I mean, if you did that last week with Ekeler, another small, I don't know, another guy who hit that was a low price, but you had success, like 100%.
The other like pivots that you could have, like I talked about, like Lamar Jackson is coming in with like very little ownership, and so is Mark Andrews because he's dealing with his foot injury, yet he expects to play. Put those 2 together. Like, you want to make a contrarian lineup that has a ton of upside? Those are the 2 guys.
Yeah. Lamar's another one that I think he's gotten to the point in price where people don't want to pay for him. But like I said earlier, I think his floor, what we saw last week is his floor, 20 points.
Disley is $3,600. You know, Ben Watson, he'll be back after this week. Go pick up Ben Watson.
He's a good pickup.
Everyone on the Patriots is banged up, and the Lacostitude is not the answer. Right. So if you want to pivot off Disley, let's say you just straight up don't want to play Walt Disley at $3,600. OJ Howard's $39. Ebron is 4,000, who we talked about without T.Y. Hilton. He probably stands the most to gain. Vernon Davis is 34. Hawkinson's 33. I don't have word yet on Tyler Higbee, but I don't think that he's going to play again. That leaves Gerald Everett as $3,200. And then you get into the Darwin Knoxes of the world.
Tough.
Like you don't want Irv Smith.
That's why Disley is really so intriguing, because in all those guys that you just mentioned, like I do like OJ Howard. I think he has the highest ceiling. I think he has a higher ceiling than Ebron, especially if, we're not going to. Yeah, I mean, Rudolph, absolutely not. Like these guys, Hawkinson, sure, maybe. You just hope he gets in the end zone like you talked about. But in that range, like Disley just stands out as the guy. Like Ebron, I'm sure, could maybe get you a touchdown. But if Godwin's not going to be 100%, OJ Howard, I think, has a pretty decent ceiling. And at least he got some targets last week.
This is true. So DSTs, there's only one that really stands out above the rest. Guess who it is?
Chargers.
The Chargers. The most expensive D, but they're only $3,800. I like the Rams.
Love the Rams.
Siege kind of sold me on the Texans against Kyle Allen. Like, this is a real defense he's going to
yeah,
like a
this
real
is going to
pass
be a
rush
much
he's gonna
tougher.
face.
Yeah.
And no one's playing them, and they're favorites at home. So I like that.
Yep.
And the Bills. I think no one's going to use the Bills because no one wants to do anything against the Patriots.
Right.
But this is a very specific moment where, with a banged-up offensive line, 2 banged-up receivers, that the Bills defense could rattle Brady in this one. And we've seen Brady have, I mean, if you just played the Jets defense last week, you were looking good. They scored 2 touchdowns.
No shit. Oh, man.
But like sacks could pile up.
Yeah,
in
sacks
this game.
could pile up in this game. Yeah, you and I are on the same page when it comes to the Bills defense. People are only now starting to respect them, I think. And maybe after this week, people will give them a little bit more credit because, like I said, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I really like New England's defense.
You know, everyone talked about like Dallas hasn't played anyone yet, so we don't know if they're good.
Yeah.
New England played Ben Roethlisberger, who, as it turned out, was hurt for the year and needed elbow surgery.
Yeah.
And killed them.
Yeah.
Then they killed the Dolphins.
And
Then they killed the Jets with their third string quarterback.
It's going to be a wake-up call for them.
Should we play Josh Allen this week? I was kind of like initially out on Josh Allen. Like, we're using him in our season long because that's all we got. But
sure.
Is he specifically the type? I feel like it works one of 2 ways for him this week. Like, either he goes full Josh Allen mode one way and he throws 5 picks and fumbles the ball. Belichick just confuses him, or he does that thing where he just kind of runs around and no one can tackle him.
So that's what I think he's going to do. So I am going to play him in my season-long formats. I don't know if I'll go there on DraftKings, but that's how I feel this game will play out. I feel like John Brown will get shut down, I think, by Gilmore. It's just Gilmore it's just what it is.
Beasley and Josh Allen.
And then there's really just nobody else to throw the football to, right? I mean, so Josh Allen, I think, is going to have one of those games where he has 10 to 12 carries at least on the ground. He's running around a lot. Yeah.
He's $5,600. Brissett's 54.
Anybody else cheaper than him?
Daniel Jones is 53.
That's the one problem.
Keenum is the one at 49.
Not with Cherry.
Cherry,
Not 100%.
I think Score and McLaurin, it might be the one.
Yeah, Score and McLaurin is really nice. I like that one too. Yeah, with Allen's price, it's Jones. Like, why spend up on him when you can go at Jones for cheaper? Just a little cheaper with weapons.
This is true.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to plug? Anything we didn't? I feel like we hit it all.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we hit it all. I think I might spend up a tight end this week. Like I might avoid Disley.
Might avoid Disley. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
If I played cash games, I probably would play Walt Disley, but I don't, so I'm not.
Mahomes and Kelsey.
Mahomes, Kelsey, Watkins stack. Let's go.
What could go wrong? Nothing.
Yeah, and bring it back with Galladay.
Yeah.
After the week after.
Yeah.
I think week 4 could be the week after week. All the chalk that busted last week, just go back to them this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Galladay. I have no problem going back to him. Whatever. The targets were there for him last week. It's just
and he also dropped a touchdown.
Yep, he did. He dropped one.
You gonna show up to the bar this week to watch the games?
I am.
You got caught up.
I shit the bed last week. Yeah, I had a trailer, and then the Eagles game was on, and
you were like, "I'm not going anywhere."
I got sidetracked. Yeah,
it's all right. So we'll see you again this Sunday. I'll be live on Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time with Custon Garian. But if people want to get up with you, at Chris Meaney on Twitter.
Yes.
And they can find all your work on the Athletic. Do you do anything live on Sunday mornings?
No, not really. I do.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. I do. I'm up early for TSN Montreal football hits, like a 15-minute segment.
Do you have to do it all
8
in
the morning? No, thank
You're
goodness.
like, mon plaît supérieur de
Jalen Richard.
Jalen Richard et Paris Campbell. You'd be like, oh, this is the great black Chris Meaney, you know.
Your French is pretty good.
Je parle un petit peu français. It's the accent that really
Yeah,
sells
it's the accent
I don't
that
have a
sells it.
French accent. I have a Quebecois accent, eh?
Yeah, the accent is.
You mix in some of the English words with it because
Always, because that's what happens. I used to room with a buddy in college back home who it was like the Acadian French he had, and he would just like randomly throw out like refrigerator or like an English word. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I remember.
What are you even talking about?
People I grew up like the Acadians, like I would grow up like, qu'est-ce que c'est the time? It's like, what? You would commit one way or another, man. Like, let's go here.
50-50. So yeah, no, take it pretty easy. So I actually tune into you guys, listen, I get a good kick out of it and it helps me out. And I like to, hear all the questions from people. So it's good.
Yeah, there are, hearing the questions from the other people actually does help kind of construct, especially even if they're like season-long questions, some of them do apply to DraftKings as well, just by like where's the consensus going? Who are people really debating this week? So if you want to ask your questions, we do that at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday mornings. But you're probably going to want to get into the chat before that because last week, I think the first week we had like over 500 unanswered questions. Last week, I think we had over 700 unanswered questions, and we got to like 300, 400. Wow. So you're going to want to tune in 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on the DraftKings YouTube channel, or the best way to get your questions in is just follow my Facebook page, facebook.com/thepme. And when I jump into that chat, far fewer people in that chat than the YouTube one, and we do bounce back and forth. Told you about the giveaways. I told you about the fansharesports.com promo, and I told you about the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners/Viewers League, which you should most definitely play. $60,000 of guaranteed money if you're looking for my ranks. They're on my Facebook page. They're in the description. They're up on DKPlaybook.com. It's about all I got for you. Good luck in week 4. I'm Pat Mayo, and I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!